Get updates from local officials and this evening deliver remarks about his administration's response.
This is pretty much the immediate and long-term future for the three white men found guilty in the shooting death of a black jogger, Ahmaud Arbery, in Brunswick, Georgia. The judge.
Mr. McMichael, the court sentences you as follows. That is life plus 20.
Arbery's father, Marcus, outside the courthouse.
Ahmaud, rest in peace, because mom and daddy got the Lord for it.
All three men get life. Only the man who took a cell video of the shooting will be eligible for parole. They're still not free. Bail's still $500,000 for each of the parents of the suspected gunman in the Oxford High School shooting. Their attorney to the judge.
They are not a flight risk. They were not a flight risk. And we're asking that the court grant our motion to reduce the bond.
The judge.
After the charges were issued, the defendants did not voluntarily turn themselves in. Instead, they were found in an abandoned building in the city of Detroit.
Prosecutors accuse James and Jennifer Crumbley of negligence. They're charged with involuntary manslaughter. The CDC's latest data showing the number of children 4 and under who can't yet get vaccinated or in hospitals with COVID is reaching record levels. And doctors warn that flurona infections are on the rise as well. No, not a new COVID variant.
It's not a mutated, it's not a brand new superbug. It's somebody that tests positive for both.
Both COVID and the flu, that according to board-certified family doctor Delia Wachs. A down day on Wall Street. You're listening to ABC News.
Millions of people use Zoom Phone, the innovative and feature-rich cloud phone system for businesses of any size. Zoom Phone is simple to use, whether you're on a mobile device, desktop, laptop, or desk phone. And because every call is important to your business, Zoom Phone was built with reliability in mind, using geographic redundancy to keep your communications online. Empower your workforce with Zoom Phone. Visit zoom.com/phone system. Zoom, how the world connects.
Deep breaths.
Mai's virtual meditation studio has never been busier.
Imagine not working.
They need a remote assistant to realign their scheduling.
Blank calendar. Sorry, back to your breath.
Indeed can help them hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. Make calls, schedule virtual interviews, and talk to candidates right from your employer dashboard. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Reports out of the former Soviet Republic Kazakhstan say more Russian troops have arrived to try to stop anti-government protests. Kazakhstan's president also sending out military units, ordering them to shoot to kill without warning. More gunfire and deaths reported. Grinding on down under, Novak Djokovic in a COVID quarantine hotel in Australia, barred from the nation's tennis open because he's not vaccinated. ABC's Tom Rivers.
One option for him would be to get on a plane and leave the country. Home Affairs Minister Karen Andrews.
Well, can I say firstly that Mr. Djokovic is not being held captive in Australia. He is free to leave at any time that he chooses to do so, and Border Force will actually facilitate that.
But the world number one is hanging around until at least Monday for his appeal day in court.
It's about more than money. ABC's Michelle Franzen.
Georgia gubernatorial candidate David Perdue is challenging a new state law that he says gives incumbent Governor Brian Kemp an unfair fundraising and spending advantage. The law allows certain top elected officials to create leadership committees that can raise campaign funds without limits, including during a legislative session.
It's not just a mixer anymore. ABC's Brian Clark.
Coca-Cola taking another step into the alcohol business. It's announced a new line of canned cocktails under the Fresca brand. They'll be due out this year in a partnership with the company behind brands like Corona and Modelo.
This is ABC News.
Exergen would like you to know about an important study just released by the FDA. It confirms what the medical community has known all along. Non-contact thermometers are not accurate. The study also reports that they fail to meet FDA requirements for accuracy in labeling. We can't afford to tolerate the rampant false temperature readings from non-contact thermometers. Accurate temperature measurements are essential. You need Exergen thermometers because they are accurate and backed by over 100 clinical studies. Be sure, be accurate with Exergen. Learn more at Exergen.com.
Chuck Sievertson, ABC News.
From the KMET Weather Center for Beaumont, Banning, and the Pass area, mostly cloudy tonight, some patchy fog late, winds from the west at around 10 miles an hour, low at 45. Sunshine tomorrow and 61, sunshine and 62 on Sunday. For Redlands, increasing cloudiness tonight with a low near 45. Patchy fog early in the morning with a high at 64. For Palm Springs, mostly cloudy skies tonight, low at 52. I'm Todd Edwards for Smart Talk 1490 KMET.
Take KMET 1490 AM with you everywhere you go by downloading our free smartphone apps found on the KMET website, KMET1490am.com. You can also go to the Google Play Store or the Apple App Store on your phone to download the free app. Now you can listen live or play any of your favorite programmers' podcasts using your smartphone. Go to KMET1490am.com and download your free phone app today.
The following is a paid program. Views and claims expressed are those of the program producer and are not endorsed by this station. Opinions expressed are not necessarily those of radio station KMET, its management, employees, or affiliates.
Time now for the Educated Retirement Show with your host, Jay Kaplan. Jay discusses reverse mortgages and can answer your questions at 951-922-3532. Call lines are open at 951-922-3532. And now, here's Jay.
And here is Jay, and welcome back to the Educated Retirement Show here on KMET 1490 on your AM dial. And we had a great, Phil Walker was with us for 45 minutes, and I really appreciate that and his time and his very, very great presentation. And of course, we talked about reverse mortgages then as it plays into our investments and longevity. So we will stay away from that kind of thing on this second hour. And we'll go right into, because of the timing with the International Space Station, I believe that NASA Nellie is on her way down. There she is. So let's get her. I'll turn her microphone up a little bit because, she's in outer space, but close by. Take it away, NASA Nellie.
The Thomas Mantell UFO incident. Date, January 7th, 1948. The Godman Army Airfield at Fort Knox, Kentucky, received a report of an unusual aerial object 250 to 300 feet in diameter. Several witnesses reported a white craft in the distance, about a quarter of the size of the moon, and with binoculars it appeared to have a red border at the bottom and remained stationary. Observers in an airfield in Ohio watched the same object for 35 minutes and said it exhibited strange mid-air maneuvers, then disappeared with a greater speed of 500 miles an hour. 4 military P-51 Mustang fighters, with one of the pilots being 25-year-old Captain Thomas Mantell, were in the area and were ordered to approach the object. Mantell described it as looking like a metallic saucer and tremendous in size, and that he was trying to close in for a better look. He passed a height of 25,000 feet and blacked out from the lack of oxygen, spiraling to the ground and crashed on a farm in Kentucky. Firemen raced to the crash site and said the captain's seatbelt was shredded and his wristwatch stopped at 3:18, the time of the crash. The incident was reported by newspapers and media around the nation. The crash was investigated by Project Sign, the first Air Force research group assigned to investigate UFO reports. They claimed the flying object was planet Venus, of course. But astronomer Dr. J. Allen Hynek, a consultant of the project, said it couldn't have been Venus because it wasn't bright enough to be seen. The project then blamed it on the old weather balloon excuse, like professional pilots would not know the difference. The balloon claimed was later disputed. Now, historian David Jacobs said that previously the press often treated UFO reports with a whimsical attitude reserved for silly news. Following Mantell's death, however, Jacob notes that the fact that a person had died in an encounter with an alleged flying saucer dramatically increased public concern about the phenomenon. Now, a dramatic new prospect entered the thought about UFOs. They might be not only extraterrestrial, but potentially hostile as well. This remains a classic UFO incident from the late 1940s and has been reviewed in several journals and documentary films over the years. And the Mantell incident even influenced the Hiroshi Honda's 1956 film, Rodan. Yes, that's true. Ken Kuronoma, who wrote the original story, claimed he was inspired by the famous Mantell UFO incident.
Wow. Don't you have an update for us also?
Oh, sure. We're going to update you on the today's Webb telescope. When ready, the James Webb Telescope science goals will be to look back in time when galaxies were young. It is an international partnership with, besides NASA, includes the European Space Agency and the Canadian Space Agency, with NASA headquarters overseeing the mission. The Webb has a primary mirror over 21 feet across, the first of its kind to be launched into space. In comparison, the Hubble has a mirror that is a little over 7 feet across. The Webb's main mirror is actually lighter than Hubble's due to its construction with new materials, and it is also layered with gold. Here's a quick update. As of 10 a.m. this morning, the James Webb Telescope was 644,828 miles from Earth and almost 254,000 miles to go to the L2 orbit, or parking space. The telescope team has fully deployed the craft's 70-foot sun shield. The 5-layered sun shield will protect the telescope from the heat of the sun to protect its scientific instruments. Each plastic sheet of the shield is about as thin as a human hair, coated with reflective material, and it took several steps to unfolding it in space. The first of 2 primary mirror wings, or side panels, has been deployed and latched successfully, and it plans to unfold another mirror tomorrow. The primary mirror is up to 18 individual segments split into side panels, which need to be unfolded for the telescope to work. The Webb will not be observing the universe until it reaches its parking spot in the L2 orbit, which is estimated to be at the end of this month, after which the mirrors and instruments will have been calibrated.
Thank you so much, NASA Nellie, about the update and the Mantell. I noticed you mentioned David Jacobs. He is the guy, I believe, who does a lot of talking about
Alien abductions.
Well, not only alien abductions, but alien hybrids and how they are taking over our planet. So, not sure how much of that I believe or get into, but he is interesting in any case. But thank you, NASA Nellie. And are you about to take off or not about to? There she goes. So I don't want to be too loud here. Let me get that. So thank you once again. So let's get back to our normal. What is today? It's National Pass Gas Day. Yes, that is correct. And you heard it right. A day devoted to flatulence. There you go. Certain foods like beans, I love beans, broccoli, cabbage, and eggs, I eat all that, may make people gassier than others. Different farts, which I think I can say. If I can't, then Sean will take care of that. Create different tones such as the won't start fart, blowing a raspberry, start fart, blowing the bean, trumpet, and a Bronx cheer, to name a few. Now, here is, I think I can do this. This is...
Fart detected. Maintain safe distance. Repeat. Fart detected. Warning. Dangerous gases emitted. Keep clear.
Okay, let's do one more, and then we'll move on. Uh-oh.
Accident ahead. Damaged underwear. Please detour
All right, let me turn that off before it just keeps going and going. It's National Tempura Day. And today we celebrate with a dish made with a tempura batter, which I love. This Japanese fare includes either seafood or vegetables dipped in batter and deep fried. It is said that in 1549, Portuguese sailors arrived in Japan and introduced a way of battering and frying food that's now infused into the culture. So it's Portuguese that kind of brought that stuff around. And chefs all over the world include tempura dishes on their menus, including broccoli, zucchini, and asparagus, and even fruit, chicken, and cheese. So what else happened today? Let's get into some famous people's birthdays. And Nicolas Cage. We don't need any pic. Well, we do have pictures. Let's show some pictures to start with. And this again is for those of us that are watching on video. And remember, you always can just go to the KMET website or through my website and click on the little thing that shows the little picture that shows a television set. But there he is. I think he's a bit younger there. Another one. There he is. And boy, these are, as a kid, you can tell it's him, but he has changed his look quite a bit. I guess that's what happens when you start growing older. I wouldn't know such things. And here he is, a bit more recent with his beard, and it's kind of got eyes that are kind of drilling through you. But I really, really like Nicolas Cage a great deal. And he was born Nicholas Kim Coppola, known professionally as Nicolas Cage, an American actor and filmmaker. Cage was born in Long Beach, California. His father was a professor of literature and his mother a choreographer. He attended Beverly Hills High School and aspired to act from an early age. He also attended UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television and started acting because he wanted to be another James Dean. And perhaps he got there. Cage said, "I saw him in Rebel Without a Cause and East of Eden. Nothing affected me, no rock song, no classical music, the way Dean affected me in Eden." That would be, of course, East of Eden, and that is a great film. It blew my mind. I was like, that's what I want to do. At 15 years old, he tried to convince his uncle, the unknown, Francis Ford Coppola, to give him a screen test, telling him, "I'll show you acting." Since his film debut in Fast Time at Ridgemont High in 1982, opposite Sean Penn, Cage has appeared in a wide range of films, both mainstream and offbeat. David Lynch described him, I like this quote, as the jazz musician of American acting. Sean Penn said that he was no longer an actor, but more like a performer. Many film critics have described Cage as one of the most underrated actors of his generation. Not sure that I would include him as underrated. I think he's rated pretty high. Cage has also been called one of the most generous stars in Hollywood. He donated $2 million to Amnesty International to offer rehabilitation shelters and medical services to 300,000 children forced to fight in conflicts across the world. He donated $1 million to the victims of Hurricane Katrina. And he's also been honored with a humanitarian award from the United Nations for his work and appointed as a UN ambassador for global justice in 2009 and 2013. And did you know Nicholas purchased a home on the former property of John Wayne in Newport Beach? Mm-hmm. I remember that property. I wonder, does he still own that, I wonder?
No, I don't think so.
Don't think so. But I remember when I was younger, on a catamaran that flipped over. I ended up on that property. But in any case, paid $24 million for that. He owned multiple castles, mansions, and an island, as well as 15 residences, 22 automobiles, including 9 Rolls Royces at one time, including the most haunted house in America in the French Quarter of New Orleans. Now, what was I going to say about him? The director here, Nassanelli, and I once, and I love doing these things like a tourist, even though we're not a tourist in the area. We took a Stars Homes tour in a small bus, open bus, and we went by one of his homes, and it was huge. I don't know if that's still one he owns or not. But he auditioned for the role of Joel Goodson in Risky Business. Tom Cruise got the part. Cage's favorite films are Wizard of Oz, and it's one of mine, but I know it's also Lewis's favorite, East of Eden, 2001, A Space Odyssey, and Clockwork Orange. So, like myself and so many others, he's a fan of Stanley Kubrick. Cage is an avid comic book fan and auditioned a collection of 400 vintage comics and, auctioned, I don't even know what I write, comics for over $1.6 million in 2002. Nicholas was arrested in New Orleans, good for him, in the French Quarter in 2011 for suspicion of domestic abuse battery, disturbing the peace, and public intoxication. I do know that. I thought no battery, but disturbing the peace and public intoxication, I was arrested for once in Tijuana, Mexico. Anyway, that's another story. Dwayne Dog Chapman posted his bail. Nicholas starred in over 100 films and has also produced and directed. I think Saturn, he's got that production company called Saturn Productions. And I think the first thing they came out with was that one about the vampire being real. And what's the name of that again? We showed it a week or two ago.
Yeah. Well, Shadow of the Vampire.
Shadow of the Vampire. Anyway, he was awarded an honorary doctorate in fine arts by California State University, Fullerton, which is where I matriculated. And he was nominated twice for an Academy Award, won an Oscar for Best Actor for the film Leaving Las Vegas, and has been nominated for Golden Globe and Screen Actors Guild Awards, and has a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame. So here's a short list of his films. And I think one of them, which we don't have to talk about, but here it is anyway, Face Off. That was a pretty big film. And there's a picture of that one. Raising Arizona, 1987. Directors were the Coen brothers, director and producer, and starred Holly Hunter, John Goodman, Frances McDormand. And those last two, John Goodman and Frances, are in a whole lot of the Coen brothers films, Frances being the wife of, I don't remember which one.
Yeah.
Anyway, Wild at Heart, 1990, director David Lynch. I love David Lynch. That's not one of my favorites, but so be it. But that starred Laura Dern, William Dafoe, William Dean, Harry Dean Stanton, and the film was nominated for one Oscar. The Rock. Let me show that Rock. Well, there ain't much to show, but there it is. In case you don't know how to spell The Rock like me, there we are, Mike's. There we are. All right. And in The Rock is where he explains how vinyl records are so much better than CDs, but that was before everybody knew it, which they do now. That was 1996 film directed by Michael Bay, starred Sean Connery, Ed Harris, and it was nominated for one Oscar. Con Air, which we have around here somewhere. Couldn't find it because we got too much stuff. And that was directed by Simon West, starred John Malkovich, who was also in Shadow of the Vampire. John Cusack and film nominated for 2 Oscars. And there was Face Off, and it was on the list. But that opposite to him was John Travolta, and it was nominated for 1 Oscar, Ghost Rider. 2007, director Mark Steven Johnson starred Eva Mendes, Peter Fonda. Now, I love this next one, so don't get excited. Mandy. Mandy is, to me, an amazing film. It's a horror kind of film where humans, but then there are not real humans, are a part of it. And he played, he played such a great role. Mandy was also the last soundtrack by Johan Johansson, who unfortunately died of a overdose of some kind just after Mandy. And Johan Johansson did all of the Denis Villeneuve films also until he died. But Mandy was directed by Panos Cosmatos, whose father is also a famous filmmaker. Music again by Johan Johansson, starred opposite him Andrea Roseborough, and a whole bunch of weird people. Also, there's another one, which I love this one. Well, you know, I love H.P. Lovecraft. And this was made by one of the directors of The Island of Dr. Moreau that didn't go over very well, even though I liked it, the one, but in any case, this was, I thought, a really, really great adaptation of that Lovecraft film, of that Lovecraft story. So check it out if you can, okay? So David Bowie, who I think we were, oh, wait a minute, let me see. We got a couple more to show. Here is 8mm that he was in. Oh, and here he is yelling. Here we go. And Snake Eyes. Neither one of these were at the top of the list of his greatest films, but then again, they were entertaining. So David Bowie, who we were lucky enough to see in person, and right after we saw him in person, he stopped, he had to cut that tour off because of heart problems, and then unfortunately passed away in 2016. But he was born on January 8th of 1947. So David Robert Jones, known as David Bowie, was an English singer, songwriter, and actor. And Bowie is regarded as one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. David Robert Jones was born in London. His mother worked as an actor, as a waitress at a cinema. A waitress. Now, we have all those theaters now with those big cushy seats, and you can, you can ask for food, you get menus, and so they've gone back to that. I guess that existed back then. His father worked as a promotions officer for children's charity, Bernardo's. Bowie attended Stockwell Infant School until he was 6. Had a reputation as a gifted child, unlike myself, and a defiant brawler. When he attended junior high school, he sang in the choir and danced in the music and movement classes. Excuse me. He became even more interested in music when his father brought home a collection of America's 45s by the Platters, Fats Domino, Elvis, and Little Richard. He later said that once he heard Little Richard's Tutti Frutti, he heard God. Okay. He had taken up the ukulele, started to play the piano, and began to participate in sessions with friends. He then attended a technical high school. So Bowie's half-brother was a substantial influence on his early life. He was 10 years older than Bowie and suffered from schizophrenia and seizures and lived at home and in psychedelic wards. While briefly...
Psychiatric wards, not psychedelic.
Say that again? Psychiatric.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of had it in mind that that's what I was saying and thinking, but, you know, so be it. While briefly living with David, the brother introduced him to modern jazz, Buddhism, beat poetry, and the occult. David studied art, music, and design. And we got a couple of pictures. Running out of ink, it looks like, but here he is at a much younger age. Let's see. And then and a little wilder. This is when he was probably living with his brother, getting that influence. Here he is a little older, running out of ink. He's got a pretty young looking face there, but, and this is a little bit older and painted up. I remember when he went through some of that era. And later in life, there he is. That's a good picture of him, I think. And well, you can skip that one. And here's another one that we showed earlier, but this is when we ran out of black ink, and I think this is kind of cool looking, just the way it came out of the printer, so I'm going to show it to you. And here he is one of, I mean, this guy was a great actor, too. Here he is playing Nikola Tesla, and we'll get into that film in a bit here. But he formed his first band, the Conrads. That's not the Conrads, no. At 15, and played at local youth gatherings and weddings, and desired to be a pop star. In the 60s, he changed his name to Bowie because he didn't want to be confused with Davy Jones from the Monkees. Several bands and years later, David marked a significant impact on popular music. Now, this was called the what? The Tin
Machine.
The Tin Machine, as it says there, and there he is there. And I don't have any music by the Tin Machine, but there it is showing him. And I thought that was kind of interesting. Bowie was also a painter and artist. In the late 70s, he devoted time to his painting and produced a number of postmodernist pieces, and I don't have any of those to show, but so be it. He often took to sketching in a notebook while on tour and sold over 100 million records worldwide, won numerous awards, and inducted in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And as an actor, he starred in over 23 films. Let's see some of the albums here first, just showing you some of them. Now, of course, Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars might be my favorite, as it is with so many other people. But just to give you I think we showed one of the pictures of him earlier that kind of reflects this time in his life. So here's Ziggy Stardust from the film, not the album. And nice cover on this next one, Low. And Changes to Bowie. Let's see what the price tag says on this. Oh, $722 at Tower Records. Okay. It has Starman on it and a few things like that. Okay. Here's a short he was in over 23 films. And here's a short list of the films. The Man Who Fell to Earth, which I thought was really, really good. And I still think is really, really good. So if you haven't seen it, look it up. It's really a great film, and was 1976, directed by Nicholas Roeg, starred Candy Clark and Rip Torn. And Absolute Beginners, which is an oldie, 1986. I guess it's not as old as I thought. And there's that. And it's basically, a musical. And then that was 1986, directed by Julian Temple. Labyrinth, 1986, directed by Jim Henson, and also starring Jennifer Connelly. And The Prestige, which we talked about just a little bit earlier, and I know we've got it, but I don't have it handy. 2006, Christopher Nolan directed that, starring Hugh Jackman and Christian Bale. And that's the film in which he did play Nikola Tesla. And I know he really wanted that part because, it was a perfect fit and admired Tesla. And that's a very strange and wonderful film. If you haven't seen it, see it. And Christopher Nolan, I think, is a genius. Everything he's done has been incredible. The last one he did... well, let's talk about that another time. Oh, he was also in, right?
Yeah, he was in that. I don't remember what.
I don't remember what part he played
It
in
also
it.
said he was in Twin Peaks, and I don't remember that either.
And it's also said he was in Twin Peaks, which I don't remember him on that either. But this has an audio commentary by Martin Scorsese, William Dafoe, Paul Schrader, Jay Cox. Anyway, so be it. But who else had a birthday today? None other than Elvis Presley. Elvis Aaron Presley was an American singer. Oh, really? And actor. He was called the King of Rock, and still is, the King of Rock and Roll. Is regarded as one of the most significant cultural icons of the 20th century. So, along with David Bowie, they were both extremely important, and most of us love both of them. He was born in Tupelo, Mississippi, in a two-room house called a shotgun house that his father built. These houses were popular in the South and were narrow and rectangular in shape, no more than about 12 feet wide, with rooms arranged one behind the other. So let's look at what he looked like when he was younger. There's a couple of young pictures of Elvis. I think these are pretty interesting to look at the younger people, what they look like when they were younger. And if you're listening and not watching, remember, KMET.com or theeducatedretirement.com, and you can see all of this good stuff. Here's another one, a little bit older, I think, but still, you can really see who he is right there. And I don't think you need to see too many more pictures. Because we know what he looks like. His father moved from one job to another. The family relied on help from neighbors and government assistance. So let's not put down government assistance too much, because a lot of people have gotten it and turned into real heroes in our society. I'm getting my assistance from some coffee here. Elvis and his mother moved in with relatives after the father was arrested and jailed for altering a check written by his landowner. Elvis was considered an average kid. Well, that was more than I was, and sang in school. His first public appearance singing was the Mississippi-Alabama Fair and Dairy Show in 1945. So that was even before I was born. A few months later, he received his first guitar and took lessons from uncles. In high school, He was regarded as a loner, would take his guitar to school daily and often get teased as a trashy kid who played hillbilly music. Okay. During his junior year, he grew his sideburns and styled his hair and began to stand out. He said, "I failed music. The only thing I ever failed." I did too at Cal State Fullerton, but that's another story. And then they entered me in a talent show. Then I came on stage, or when he came on stage, he says, "I heard people whispering. They didn't know what I sang. It was amazing how popular I became in school after that." Elvis could not read music. He studied and played by ear. Impressive. He continuously listened to the radio, loved records and gospel music, and after he finished high school, singled out music as his future. The rest is, as they say, history. So Presley remains a best-selling solo music artist according to Guinness World Book of Records, with sales estimating to 500 million. As an actor, he starred in over 30 films, records. And, you know, just to show you a couple of quick records, here's one. These are specialty records with exceptional sound. And what's on the inside? That's all right. There he is. And there he is. He's back. And where is he back from? He's back from the Army. So, and then here's the best of, but this is also a really great sounding album. Yeah, but they're small. That's okay. And there he is. Looks a little bit younger. 24 karat hits. All of the good ones are on here. This is very special analog and engineering and that good stuff. So here's some films, a short list of the films that he was in. Jailhouse Rock. There we go. The explosive film that turned Elvis loose. Okay, there he is, loose. And there's one of this, kind of a reproduction of one of the sets that he was in on that. And directed by Richard Thorpe. GI Blues. And here's what the poster looked like. And there he is. Hal Wallace production. And GI Blues was 1960. Did I say Jailhouse Rock was 1957? Well, it was. And I can't. That's the way it is. So GI Blues, director Norman Taurog. I've seen the name before. Not sure I'm pronouncing it correctly. Taurog, starred Juliet Prowse also. Blue Hawaii. And here's a picture of that poster. Gee, they all look like musicals. And that was directed, Norman Turok, and starred Angela Lansbury. Wow. Viva Las Vegas. I don't have a poster for that, but this is kind of interesting. What do you think? 1977, Indianapolis, Indiana, in the, can I read backwards through here? Market Square Arena. There he is, Elvis Live, which I wish he were right now, but, you know, yeah. Here's another poster for a show, Florida Theater, Jacksonville, Florida. And it says Saturday, August 10th through 11th, 1956, in very small letters under there. But there he is with that look and with his guitar, and he is in person. So sorry I missed that one, but I did. Now we got some honorable mentions also here. And these people, it's not that they're less important, it's that we probably talked about them a lot before and things like that. And there's only so much time on the show. But William Peter Blatty was born today in 1928, and he earned his wings in 2017. And here's a picture of him. I'm getting an, oh, there he is. Is that an Oscar in his hand?
I think so.
Looks like it. Would have been probably for the screenplay of, guess what? The Exorcist, but we'll find out more. William was an American writer, director, and producer. Didn't know about that part of it. Best known for his novel, The Exorcist. The book was published in 1971 and sold over 13 million copies. He wrote the screenplay for the film and won the Academy Award for Best Writing of the Screenplay. So that was that. The film was nominated for 10 Oscars and won 2. And, of course, here is, again, the Laserdisc has, you know, bigger pictures. But, boy, I remember when I saw that the first time and stood in line, and is all I can say.
And this is your
favorite. And here is this is a soundtrack of Exorcist 2, The Heretic, which wasn't quite as good a movie, but, you know, it did star some big people. Paul Henreid, Kitty Wynn, Max von Sydow was again in it, Richard Burton, Linda Blair. Louise Fletcher was getting ready for her great role in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Actually, I don't know which came first. But speaking of her, got her autograph. Can't even read for Jay and Kathleen and all that good stuff. Just to show, you know, my wife especially, I'm sorry, the director of the show really gets into autographs. And that's one treasured autograph. And so Yvette Mimieux was also born January 8th, tomorrow, 1942. So she's even older than I am. I remember sitting kind of behind her at the theater there in Westwood, the same one that was featured in L.A. Confidential. And she was so skinny and small, it was hard to recognize her, but so be it. So Yvette is a retired American actress and best known for her breakout role in The Time Machine with Rod Taylor. And there we go. This is the laser box. And of course, the best part of this film for me was as he was going through the time, sitting on the time machine. Oh, we should get my model of it. Yeah. Maybe, you know, because that's easy to bring over. Anyway, here is a soundtrack. Great cover, I think. You will orbit into the fantastic future. Not bad. This is music by Russell Garcia, who did a lot of science fiction stuff. Okay, and again, we have the autographs of Russell Garcia. I believe he signed it as Russ Garcia. And we got a bunch of albums by him for this kind of thing. And so that was with Rod Taylor. Of course, she was in over 20 films and several television shows, such as One Step Beyond, Perry Mason, but everybody was in Perry Mason, and Mr. Lucky, which sometimes I forget about, but I love the music to Mr. Lucky. Mr. Lucky Goes Latin. You know, the Henry Mancini stuff, just amazing stuff. And of course, we also have Stephen Hawking. And we've talked about him in length before. So he was born January 8th, 1942, and he left this planet for the entire universe in 2018. And my God, he lasted so long after getting Lou Gehrig's disease when he was so much younger. And he was an English theoretical physicist and author and was director of research at the University of Cambridge. He won numerous awards and honors and had a major role in the promotion of science communication. And another guy that was really into a lot of communication was Soupy Sales. And just to show you Now, is it the Soupy Sales show that Sven Gulli has at the end where the guy comes in at the door? So I know everybody out there watches Sven Gulli on MeTV because it's an absolute must. And what's on Sven Gulli tomorrow? Do you know?
Frogs.
Frogs?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. What a classic that is. But anyway, there's Soupy Sales. But what a lot of people don't know is that, and I don't think we have it here in today's script, but we've talked about him before, is he was really into jazz, and he had a music show later, I don't know about late night, but late night, excuse me a moment here, shows with many, many great musicians. So Milton Soupy Supman was an American comedian, actor, radio and television personality, and Soupy is best known for his Soupy Sales show. So what happened on this day in history? In 1610, which was a couple days ago, Galileo discovers moons of Jupiter. Now we can see that. We got two telescopes, a big one, which is too heavy for me to carry, and a little one, but even the little one will show the moons of Jupiter, a lot of them, and probably, I haven't tried it, but I would assume that normal binoculars will also show you those moons of Jupiter, and they're usually out in a straight line on both sides of the planet. And Italian astronomer Galileo discovered, using a homemade telescope, I tell you, I made a homemade telescope in elementary school, but I didn't grind the lenses. I bought those through some kind of mail order, but I had a friend who ground his own lenses anyway. Moons orbiting the planet Jupiter is what he discovered with that homemade telescope. And he looked at what he thought were a group of stars and realized they were moving in a regular pattern. They are Ganymede, Europa, Lo, and Callisto. What's that? Io, of course. And I don't know. I just didn't recognize it looking at it there. But those moons have been, 2010, and a lot of other films have gotten into. Europa Report, wasn't that the name of another movie that was pretty good?
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, the Catholic Church found him gravely suspect of heresy for supporting the idea that the earth revolved around the sun, and remained under house arrest for the rest of his life. And in 1784, the first U.S. seed business established in Philadelphia. Landreth Seed Company has helped grow the gardens that have fed generations. You have that?
Well, this is not that seed company,
That's not
but
that.
it's
Yeah, I can't
pretty
reach
neat.
these. But the director bought this right at a checkout stand at a supermarket, and lots of seeds, lots of great pictures, which, vegetables, fruits, all that kind of stuff. And just open to any page here. And anyway, so the whole seed catalog is still out there if you can pick it up. I'm having trouble. So some of their first customers were the city of Philadelphia, George Washington, and Thomas Jefferson, and later produced the first agricultural journal in the United States in 1982, called simply Floral Magazine. And 1830, first major U.S. railroad station opens in Baltimore, the Baltimore, Ohio Railroad. Got a picture of it. Not too exciting looking, but there it is. Anyway, for your general information, of course, the Union Station in Los Angeles is magnificent, as is the one in New York, Grand Central. And of course, Penn Station has just been redone, and it's gorgeous also. And one of my favorite train stations is in Denver, Colorado. So you should take a look at that. Just jump on a train and get out there. The train trip itself goes through the mountains and is amazing. California Zephyr, which I went on the first time when I was 14, and been on it since, but it goes through some of the best, most beautiful country in our country. So anyway, it's preserved today, recognized, along with a small depot at Ellicott City, Maryland, as National Historic Landmarks due to their age and economic importance. I wonder if I'm going to be a landmark due to my age. So, 1929, Buck Rogers sci-fi comic strip first appeared in the newspaper, which inspired Flash Gordon character. So Buck Rogers, I guess, came first. Later was adapted in early radio, a serial film and television series. I've got that. Well, this is the most important thing.
Oh, yeah.
I've got several of these. There were several of these and I mean, do you remember? Zoom. It always made turns like this, and the exhaust came straight, went straight up into the air. So these are pretty cool. And we were watching yesterday on YouTube. There was a Buck Rogers 5-hour and some odd time.
Commander Cody.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say Commander Cody, but they called him Commando Cody. Yeah. So anyway, we've got 1 minute. So Radar Men from the Moon is there. And who starred in that? Zombies of the Stratosphere. And with that, I think, and look at the back, anyway, we got to go. So with the adventures of Buck Rogers, we got to go. We got to take that spaceship and take off. Flash Gordon was 1934, but that's enough for now. Really appreciate you spending the last 2 hours with us. And of course, Phil Walker was amazing. And keep yourself safe. You know how to do that, so do it. Be productive. Have a great week. And we will talk with you next week. So thank you so much and take care of yourself. Bye-bye.